Ever wonder what it really takes to build a business and a life that feels like yours? Welcome to That Big CEO Energy. I'm Callie, entrepreneur, operations whiz, and your go to for the real, raw, and unfiltered side of business and life. Because let's be honest, entrepreneurship isn't just about strategy and success, it's about figuring out who you are in the messy middle, trying new things, well, just because you can, and creating a life that actually fits you. From solo deep dives to candid convos with powerhouse business owners, we're talking all about the highs and the lows and the why did no one warn me about this moments that come while chasing big dreams. So let's get uncomfortable, embrace the chaos, and make it happen. Welcome back to episode 2 of this series where we're talking all about systems to get it together for Q4. Today we're going to talking about and going a little bit deeper on the system that protects everything else in your life, your time. Because if your calendar is running you instead of the other way around, you will not make it through Q4. Actually, you won't even make it through the next year with your energy intact. Let's be honest about it. But this episode is super personal for me because I used to cram my days so full that there literally was no room to think. There was no room to breathe. And I thought, this is just what it is. This is part of running your own business. The late nights, the early mornings, the not feeling like you have it all together, that's just what it is. But the truth was that even the most powerful CEOs that I know are not the busiest. And they're actually the ones that know how to guard their time. So here's a little bit of breakdown. We're going to talk about why time gets messy. We're going to talk about how to reset your calendar. And then we're going to talk about how to actually create this space for CEO time. Why time gets messy. We have this word busy that likes to just hang out in our lives, that likes to just give us this false badge of honor that we're doing the thing. Look at all that we are doing. And the reality is who's giving you that badge of honor? You are. Nobody else is giving you that. Nobody even knows how busy you actually are or feel. And so when time gets messy, we chalk it up to being super busy. And we are confusing what productivity has with impact. So when we are working inside of our business and we're doing all of the admin tasks and we're doing all of the back end and we're doing all of the marketing, all of the things, we're like, oh my goodness, I am so busy. But are you productive? And is what you're doing in this productivity that you're giving yourself making an actual impact on your business? The more that we chase packed calendars, the less we actually lead our business. And so filling our time with going out on coffee dates, and while those are important, I'm not saying that those aren't important. But when we spend our time chasing a packed calendar because we need to justify filling our time, that's when we don't actually have a good attunement to what our business is doing. And so when I realized that my calendar was actually suffocating me, I began to really understand the things that I'm actually doing inside of my business that matter and that can be delegated, but what is chewing up my actual time? And I had to do a few things first. One is I had to actually audit my current calendar. Clockify is free. It is really easy to sit and start a button and stop a button when you are in the middle of doing things and naming what it is that you're doing. What is actually taking up your time? Is your business being filled with a lot of admin that maybe it's time to hire somebody, right? But you can't really identify what that is until you audit it. And so the second step is identifying your CEO time. And this is not where we're executing things. This is where we are spending specific time working on our vision to then create our strategy, to then create our leadership module that is going to find somebody either to execute it or put the time in very specific ways on our calendar to be able to execute those things. But you can't do that, right, until you're auditing. And so one of the other things is to make sure that we are creating boundaries. I have office hours for myself, and I also have no meeting days, and I've started creating a lot of white space on my calendar. Now, white space is not to say that you are twirling around in your office chair doing absolutely nothing. Sometimes that white space is making time for your home, making time for rest. Maybe we're reading a nonfiction book or even a fiction book, whatever you want to do, right? But we have to put in some sort of boundaries inside of our day. So, what do my boundaries currently look like? I'll just give you an example of what I'm doing right now in real time. I get up in the morning and try to have a very slow morning. And when I say the word try, is I'm not perfect and I'm a human. So I will get up and I will, take care of the dogs, take care of the things, get myself prepared for the day. Sometimes I don't do any of that. I mean, I take care of the dogs because I have to be taken care of. But sometimes I just get up and I just don't feel good. And that's okay. That is okay. But I do have office hours. So I work Monday through Thursday inside of my business. And then Friday, I actually take no meetings, no nothing. I try not to take meetings on Mondays either, but that's inevitable right now in my current time. And so Friday, however, I don't do any of that. What I spend Friday for is actually working inside of my business, preparing myself for the next week. Maybe buttoning up some projects that I'm working on, getting myself feeling really, really good about what it is that I'm doing. So then I sometimes start work at 6 a.m. because that is just how my energy flows and it's what I'm doing. And then I'm pretty much cashed out by 2 o'clock. But on a general scale, what happens is when my husband, because he works like almost 2 hours away, when he tells me I'm headed home, that is my last hour of work. And then the other hour of work is doing things around our home. So putting away the dishes, cleaning the kitty litter, doing those things so that when he gets home, I don't have anything other to do than to spend time with him because it's a limited commodity in our house right now. So I couldn't get there unless I went back and audited the time that I was spending inside of my business. And so the other thing that I had to do is figure out how I could automate and systematize where it was possible. If you don't have your dog food and cat food on subscription on Chewy, what are you even doing with your life? There are some things inside of our house that I put on automate because I cannot be bothered. I can't do it. The other thing is to build a system inside of our house, whereas we have the housekeeper come once a month and she does a complete deep clean, and then we're responsible for the daily cleaning. Building systems inside of your house, both in your personal and your professional life, are key to being able to straighten out your calendar. If you can automate every single little thing, like your paper towels, your whatever it is, so that you are not finding yourself on a Saturday and Sunday going to the store. Now, I will say that we go to Aldi and I love it because it's in and out. We spend almost no time in there. We also make a Costco trip, but those are things that I don't mind doing because I'm able to have the white space on my calendar to be able to do that. And sometimes it's a midweek Tuesday run to the Costco because I have time. And so I'm not clogging up my weekend. So creating boundaries, being able to automate and systematize where possible. And it's really about getting raw and honest with your calendar, because your calendar should reflect your energy, not just your obligations. Okay. So how do we even create space for the CEO time? Well, when we look at, if you are a service provider and maybe you're in the same space as me, we have to look at what our current client needs are and how we need to reach them by the end of the week, by the time our next meeting is, whatever it is. And we need to be able to strategy block that time. So what I typically do is I put all of my big project work early in the morning, because that is how my brain operates, and that is when it fires on all cylinders. By the time I get to the afternoon, I'm wiped out. I'm literally just doing the admin tasks that take no time and space on my brain. In between all of that, I give myself a creative space to be able to have white space on my calendar, to be able to not take meetings, almost like a reflection hour. And maybe I'm grabbing some lunch and maybe I'm hanging out in the recliner for an hour, like giving myself a little bit of a breather before I come back and I sit down and I finish out the work for the afternoon. But I had so much guilt when I started doing this, and there is so much guilt tied to this, and I can hear you and I can see you in your eyes going, oh my gosh, there's no way I could do that. And you can. It's just about getting rid of the guilt and the fear that comes with it. But when you start blocking work time, it gets a little scary. And you start feeling just a little bit guilty that you are taking time, maybe in the middle of the day, for the things that you want to be doing. Do I want to run to Costco? Not necessarily, but it's not the worst thing in the world. Like, I am out in public. I am, like, sometimes people are people and I don't want to go out in public, but go out and touch grass kind of thing. It's like when you start blocking work time, you start to really adopt and understand the sense of purpose that you have inside of your day. And when you can understand that you are a full human outside of your work and outside of your business, that really helps you to create more space and more time. And when you get just a little bit of taste, right, you start to uncover more ways and more time available on your calendar that you never even knew you had. So if you don't make the time to think, your business can't grow beyond your current bandwidth. Sometimes you just need to go out and sit in the grass, you guys, for an hour, for a half hour, for 20 minutes. But if you don't take that time to release your brain out of everything that is happening, your business is stuck in the current time, in the current role, in the current place that you are. And so how then can you creatively get yourself time so that you can be creative in how to move the needle of your business forward? That's a big question you need to ask for yourself. So if you're listening to this and your calendar feels like it's bossing you around, I want you to know that there is an opportunity to reset here, and you can reclaim your time. So if you are wanting to protect your CEO energy, you need to start with your time. And I know it's this big thing of, I just need to, what are we going to do? We're going to start saying no. And if you need help on saying no, I have a podcast episode for you and I'll link it in the show notes. But clear your calendar. If it's a random coffee that you know is going to take way more than an hour, put a time limit on. Be upfront and honest with the person and say, I only have X amount of time. If that doesn't meet your needs, then we can bump it to another time or we can figure out something else, but we need to start being honest with our time. So That is my encouragement for you this week. Again, if you don't make time to think, your business can't grow beyond your bandwidth. So take control of your calendar, take your time back, and to move the needle of your business forward. Hey friend, thanks for hanging out with me today. If something in this episode clicked for you, I want you to shoot me a DM over on Instagram. The link is in the show notes. Let's chat about how you're making the messy middle work for you. If you loved what you heard, would you mind sharing this episode with a friend who needs to hear it too? And drop a quick review if you don't mind. It helps get the word out, and I appreciate it more than you know. Catch you in the next one.